Hello! Magandang araw sa inyong lahat, or in English, good day everyone. My name is Jo Malinis, and I am a graphic designer from the Philippines. My talk today will be about engaging the Filipino type community, and before I dive deeper into that, I'd like to tell you a bit about myself more. So as I've said, I am a graphic designer, and I am currently working from home here in the Philippines for a studio called Plus 63 Design Co. Plus 63 is part of a larger design collective which is called Hydro Design Group. And I am also a lecturer at the University of the Philippines where I teach visual communication design and production methods. So I have been experimenting with typefaces and typographic designs both for myself and for my clients for a few years now. I think even as early as 2016. But it took a while before I gained the confidence to call myself a type designer. Back when I was in college, there weren't any type design degrees or courses or workshops even that focused on the subject here in the Philippines. And I really didn't even think that creating fonts were possible. So imagine me, someone who has no clue whatsoever about this magical world of type design, being suddenly thrust into it by accident because of a branding project that required a custom typeface. Because of this project, I ended up falling in love with type, as cheesy as that may sound. But I didn't know how things worked out exactly. I started by looking for inspiration and knowledge online or in whatever books we had in the office. I'd practice drawing letters by myself. I'd look up foundries and read their blog posts or stalk their tweets or Instagram and study how they created their typefaces. Eventually, I noticed that most of the people that I looked up to were from abroad, but the designers that I knew locally who focused on type were just people within my small personal network. And I refused to believe that we were the only ones in the whole country who were into type. I just really didn't know where to look. I kept wondering, where are the other type enthusiasts? Who are they? What do their work look like? And what do they do? There are a lot of Instagram and Facebook accounts dedicated to promoting art and design here in the Philippines. But as far as I'm aware, there weren't any that focused on typography or Filipino type-centric work at the time. I'd see Instagram accounts like FemType, who would feature female designers across the globe, or 365 Typefaces, an account that posts curated typeface releases. And I'd think, I wish we had something like this. And this is what prompted me to create Type 63 last July 2020. Type 63 is an initiative that aims to showcase and celebrate Filipino type design, ranging from custom type for projects and fully realized typefaces and typographic layouts. It started on Instagram and it mainly exists there, but now it also has a Facebook account, a YouTube account, and a website. The name comes from the country code of the Philippines, which is plus 63. So what I do in Type 63 is I interact with and I collect images from designers and showcase them on Instagram. The account now has more than 5,500 followers, and we are growing day by day. As of today, August 18, we've already posted 272 posts featuring different kinds of work created by Filipinos. They are posts from designers who create fonts inspired by various things. So different topics inspire them and they create typefaces from them. There are also personal projects that experiment with letters. And of course, custom typefaces used for client work. In collecting these images, I noticed that a lot of the submissions are designs that are inspired by our own culture. There are typefaces like Inandan, which is based on beadwork and weaving patterns from Mindanao, which is an island at the southern part of the Philippines. And Ulalong, a typeface that takes its name from the way that people from the central part of the Philippines, called the Visayans, are said to begin their year, by spinning fibers of weaving by hand. There's also an abundance of typefaces derived from signages all over the streets, like LL Caratula by Lloydie Cat and Vowel Sans by Together We Design. There are also typefaces based on signages usually seen in our public schools, like Escuela by Font Duo, and even something like Cubao Free by Aaron Amar, which is a typeface based on jeepney signages. So the jeepney is a mode of transportation here in the Philippines. It's very common and we see it all around us when we go outside of our homes. There's also fonts inspired by our environment, like Ornate Ecology by Gian Encarnacion and Iña de Vera, that has glyph ornaments featuring Philippine flora. Interestingly, there are also fonts based on language. There are more than 100 languages here in the Philippines, and Bisdak was inspired by the Cebuano language. While Maragsa owes its forms to one of the accent marks used to guide the pronunciation of Filipino words, which is the Pakopya accent, or the circumflex. I have also received typeface submissions that try to revive or pay homage to pre-colonial writing scripts like the Baybayin. This one is Sari Manok by Lloyd Cunanan, or Lloydie Cat, and Geo Baybayin by Team Manila. So the wealth of inspiration from the Philippines is truly undeniable, and I am but a mere speck in our rich landscape. So this is why I try my best to include designers of different gender identities and backgrounds from all over the Philippines and even abroad, as long as they're Filipino. So it was difficult for me to fully embrace type design in the beginning because I couldn't find anyone like me doing it. But clearly, that is not the case. One of the goals of Type 63 is to help Filipinos see who their designers are, what they do, and understand where their work is coming from. Apart from posting features, I also engage the audience by posting questions like, who are your favorite type designers? Or what are your favorite fonts? Which encourages people to interact with the account. There were answers, alright, but I would also get a lot of questions. Because there's an emerging pattern of seeing typefaces based on our own culture, I get a lot of questions about identity. Some of them ask, what does a Filipino typeface look like? Or do we even need to define what a Filipino typeface looks like? At that time, I didn't know how to answer them because these are questions that I've been asking myself as well. Part of me felt like whatever my answer may be, it wouldn't be necessarily the only correct one. I knew that there were many ways to approach them. So what I did was last September, 2 months after the account's creation, Type Talks Tuesday launched as a solution to all of these questions. It is an avenue for Filipino type creatives to talk about their projects and their philosophies. I invited people to share their knowledge and work through a recorded Zoom call, and then I make the video available on YouTube for everyone to view afterwards. Plus, I also create a summary post on Instagram so that people who are on the app can easily browse through the contents of that discussion. I have been able to produce 3 episodes so far, and I am hoping to produce more soon. Another question that I get a lot was, how do you even begin to create typefaces? I tried answering this by posting some resources on the page and sharing through IG stories whatever information I could find online, which to me was honestly a bit difficult because these were things that I was looking for too. In my personal experience, I had to look outside of the country for type education and guidance. I joined critiques through Type Crit Crew and Alphabets, and I'd learned a lot from them. And honestly, those were great. Those were amazing. I've been very privileged to experience meeting and learning from amazing professionals, and I can't thank them enough for lending me their time and knowledge. But here in the Philippines, we didn't have information produced locally that could present type in our context. And personally, I find that this is very important to have because situations here and abroad are very different. The work environments, accessibility to information, sensitivity to different cultures when it comes to borrowing aesthetics, what else? Financial concerns, etc. So many things. All of these things were and still are things that come into play when talking about type design. And so we need to be able to present the process in a way that could be contextualized into our situation. That's why I grabbed the opportunity to partner with Design Dialogues when they messaged me about creating educational content about type in the form of a video series. Design Dialogues is an initiative by one of the design studios here in the country called And a Half, and it aims to provide a creative space for design learning and sharing. We talked to Filipino designers who work with type and asked if they'd be willing to lend their time and expertise for this project. Luckily, everyone was on board, so we worked on everything from topic selection to script review, shooting guides, editing, animating, publishing, and promoting. We even created social media content to supplement these videos. And all of it was free. None of us earned anything from it. The whole thing was a labor of love from everyone involved, and I am very, very proud of what we did. Type 63 now has over 5,500 followers, and not a day goes by without at least one account adding to that number. Up to now, I still can't believe that it has grown this much. And in that number, I think it's safe to assume that not everyone is a type designer, nor do I think that all of them are even in the creative field. So I find that it is valid whenever I get questions like, why is type important? Why is type 63 needed? Why do we even need to know what type is and who these Filipino type designers are? There are several ways to approach these questions, but I'd like to cite one example of how type played a role in our society, specifically to us Filipinos. Last November 2020, two storms hit the Philippines just mere weeks apart from each other. One was Typhoon Rolly, or Goni, a Category 5 equivalent super typhoon, and the other one was Typhoon Ulysses, or VAMCO, a Category 4 equivalent typhoon. The northern part of the country was hit badly, and a lot of homes were devastated. You could see everything in the news, which was already depressing enough, and for me, I had friends who actually lost their homes and their livelihood, so the impact was on a personal level. Not that it needed to be for me to care, but it was different. Different organizations jumped into action to volunteer for this, and creatives started to back them up. Designers made posts that could help disseminate information, while illustrators sold their prints to raise funds. We responded by selling our fonts. Type for a Cause is a fundraising initiative by Filipino designers for the two typhoons. Type 63 gathered 4 typefaces from 4 different creators supporting different organizations targeted to help different parts of the country. Their prices were set around the $5 to $10 price range so that a lot of people both in and out of the country were able to support them by buying them. This is a very specific example that hopefully never has to happen again. But this is an instance where people can step up and be even more visible in their support to the community and the society. As someone who was fortunate enough not to be affected by those typhoons, selling my typeface for their benefit was the very least that I could do to help out. And it was made clear to me that type is part of the thread of society, mainly used as a means to communicate, and now it can also possibly build communities. Who would have thought? So now with all of these things, the goals for Type 63 started to shift as well. Now I see Type 63 as more than just an online catalog. It's turning into a public and a connected space where we can ask the who's, what's, how's, and why's of Filipino type and its community. What started from something born out of my own interest and curiosity evolved into an entity with a sense of responsibility attached to it. where a lot of times I felt like I wasn't doing enough for it. But looking back and seeing the progress made makes me realize that the questions that I had in the beginning were questions shared by so many others too. At least now I know that everyone is willing and eager to help in finding out the answers for them. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much.